Hi, this is Davey from Greasy Groove. We're going to take a look at replacing a chrome cover on a humbucker. We have a Les Paul style guitar here, and what we're going to do is we're going to remove a humbucker from the instrument. We're going to remove the chrome cover, and we're going to replace the chrome cover with one of our engraved chrome covers. So we're going to take a look at the process you need to do to accomplish that. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the strings from the instrument. Okay, with the strings removed, we've removed the bridge and the tailpiece, so that nothing's going to fall off the guitar while we're working on it. We're also working on a mat. I've got one of our Greasy Groove mats that we use for work mats, and we sell for work mats here. This is just so that you don't scratch the guitar. Before you start to remove anything from the guitar in way of pickups, it's always a good idea, assuming the guitar was set up to your liking in the first place, that we're going to check the height of the pickups and everything, so that when you put it all back together you're going to get the pickup height somewhere like the same. So just make a note of that, measure it, or mark a piece of paper with the height or something. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the surround with the pickup in place. So we're not going to remove the pickup screws, we're just going to remove the screws from the surround. So let's take the final screw out. Now with all the screws removed, we just flip the surround out and we have the pickup intact, still with the springs and everything. So if you remove these first, you can still get it apart, but you're going to be losing springs down in your cavity down here, and I don't see the point of that. So let's take it out like this. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove each one of these screws that holds the humbucker in place into the surround. So I'm holding the spring there. As I loosen off the screw, I can pull the screw out, and on these the spring is staying in place on the covers. That's not always the case. Sometimes the spring's going to go flying out at you, so just keep a hold of the spring. Okay, so there's the two screws. So I've just got a mouse mat here. I'm just putting a mouse pad on there to be able to put the humbucker down, and so now when I'm working on it, I can put it down and move it around, and the guitar surface is going to stay intact. So now this is the actual frame that holds the coils and everything in place. This is actually soldered in two places to the top cover here. So we have a solder joint here and here. Now to break these solder joints, what I like to do is to actually cut through these. I've seen people that attempt to do it with a soldering iron and all kinds of different ways, but the moment you apply heat here and try to loosen this solder, it's going to run, and it's going to keep the joint, every time you remove the heat, it's still going to solder back in position. So what I like to do is I get a craft knife, and I just go in there on the cut and pop through. Now to keep the craft knife to the edge of the chrome cover there, I'm not going to be cutting through anything in the coil, so I just went through that one. I'm just going to do the same down here. Put the knife in and go through the soldered joint. I've done this many times, so I know what I'm doing. Please be very careful when you're using a knife blade around here. We don't want anybody slicing through the thumbs or anything like that. So we're going to grip the mounting frame here with one hand, and then we're going to gently try to ease this cover off. So you can see at the top here it's starting to move. Now I don't want to get anything in here if I needn't. I don't want to start prying anything off. Let's try and do this with the fingers. These are potted in generally with a wax resin, some kind of sealing wax, and you can do it with your fingers. I'm just gently rocking this backwards and forwards and pulling the cover off out of the way and keeping the cover pretty straight, because basically what I want to ensure is that I keep all this wax in place on the top of the humbucker there. So you can see that was the hidden humbucker inside. Okay, I've now moved the guitar out of the way for a moment just to take a look at these two covers. This is the one we've just removed, this is the one we're going to be placing on. Now this one's been soldered on, this one hasn't. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a look at, this is the orientation that we're going to put this on there. So round about here on this new cover will be the new solder joint. So what I'm going to do is just scrape off just a little bit of the top surface of the plating there, on there. And the same thing on the other side, the solder joint is going to be here, so I'm just going to remove some of the plating just by scratching gently with a knife in that same place. Now that's just giving us something to be able to key the solder into when we're trying to solder it back in place. We've now got our new cover, and we're going to take our new cover and we're going to slip it over the top of the coils there. And we're going to gently push her into place. It just slides on real nice. There we go. Push it all the way and it's now back to where the other one was sitting, and we've got a new cover on the top now. So now that we've got the cover in place, I'm going to get a soldering iron. This particular soldering iron is a 45-watt soldering iron. I wouldn't use anything less than that. Quite often I use something a little bit more high powered and more controllable, but this one's perfectly adequate for what we're doing right now. I'm just going to make sure the tip of the soldering iron is clean, apply the heat to the existing solder on there. Just stop things moving around here. Just put a new dab of solder on there just to get us a new bit of flux to get things to run and tack nicely. There we go, it's welled up and now it's tacked onto the new cover. So that's that side done. We can now turn this around. Be careful when you've got solder on the top of the soldering iron here, because like if it drops off it's going to drop on the guitar. This is why we've got the mat in place. We're going to do the same thing on here. Just get it to melt. This is why you need at least a 45-watt iron, because you're trying to get the heat on there. If it's taking you too long to get the heat, then you're going to be doing all sorts of damage maybe to the coils. There you go, that's just run and weld nicely and it's tacked onto the new cover. So that's now done, that's in place. We have, by putting the solder on there, we're keeping it in place. The other thing of course that we're doing is, this is all grounded, this plate at the back's grounded, and we've got grounding through to the cover as well. This is an arch top guitar, so we've got a slope on this pickup surround. Some of them are straight, some of them are slopey. People ask me about that all the time. I quite often just put straight ones on my guitars. They work for the right place. Now when you've got this pickup out, it's the easiest thing in the world to have this the wrong way around, so let's make sure we've got the pickup the right way around, the slope the right way around, and this is how we're going to put it back together. This particular surround has got little lugs on the back here that are kind of neat because they allow you to put the spring in place. Now some of them don't have that, and we're going to assume it hasn't. So the way they put these things together is, let's hold the two together, let's pop a screw in the top, then I'm going to put the spring in place behind it. Now holding the screw on the top with my thumb, I'm kind of pulling the spring back on the screw there, keeping everything in place. I get the screwdriver and I get us in a couple of turns of thread here, so you can see the screws now poking through. That side's now on. I can go to the other side and do exactly the same. So I'm popping the screw in. Now it's all back together, and we can now drop the pickup in place. There we go. So all that we have to do now to complete the job is put in our screws. So when we've finished adjusting everything, now got the pickup in place, the sparkly new cover on there. We're obviously going to do the same with this other pickup, but we go through the same process here, restring it, and she's ready to rock again.